So as you can see, my oil galley plug here is starting to leak. And, not surprising for 50-year-old O-rings, but I read on the internet that the only way to fix this thing is actually to install an oil pressure gauge. It's the only solution. So today we're going to focus on the oil and get an idea of what this engine is producing as far as oil pressure, and then we're also going to cut open the old oil filter, spread that thing out on the bench, and see if we can find any kind of damage or any concerns in it, as well as doing an oil change, obviously. So let's jump right in. So this is actually going to be the first time I pull this filter off since I've done the 4-in-1. And to help keep this thing nice and clean, put some tin foil on here. Dry header. Alright, let's go ahead and pull the filter out of this. Then I'm going to go ahead and cut it apart. We'll open it up and see what we have in here. Now I'm expecting, a little bit of goopiness just from the stuff that's been, in the engine circulating. This is actually the second oil change I've done since I first got the bike going. So it sat for, a number of years. And then from there, I put probably 200 miles on it before before doing my first oil change, and we had circulated a lot of stuff through at that point. There we go. Don't forget your little metal washer here, that's important. Inside of the filter housing, a little bit of junk. Just feels more like kind of dirt, that kind of thing. A little extra grime. And then cutting this will allow us to just really kind of peek in here and see what we're trapping. So far, I'm extremely pleased. Very, very clean. Really not seeing anything of worry. Anything I do pick up, it's pretty just soft. It's just residual gunk. But I'm not seeing any metal or anything like that. And then inside the filter housing, again, more just kind of grime, like dirt, that kind of thing. Very happy with this. So yeah, overall super happy with this. I'm really not seeing anything in here. The very first oil change, we had a lot of gunk, and I expected way more on this round, but we're good, man. This thing's healthy. Nothing out of the ordinary. So let's go ahead and throw a filter in it, put some new oil in it, and then we will turn our attention to the gauge. I'm sure this MGO is older than me, but I got a bunch of them. Now, will it stay? I don't know. Okay, just inspected around this thing, and the O-ring is seated where it should be, so now I'm just going to tighten her down. Tight, but not too tight. Alright, let's see if this guy wants to play ball. 14 millimeter, got a 6-point on here. Oh, no big deal. I know a few of you guys have probably looked at that little tiny, what appears to be a crack. in some of the earlier videos. It just looked really bad there in some of those like up close shots, but that's, you know, that's just a difficulty, what we call casting flash, where the mold just has difficulty getting like exact kind of tolerances around tight bends in tight areas. Basically, you're trying to get aluminum to flow into a really tight bend or something like that, and it's just difficult, and it creates sometimes a little porosity. Or whenever they break the sand cast or the mold off of this thing, it can just leave a little bit of what we call, like I said, flashing on there. So nothing to be concerned about. It looks different than what it is. It's more or less like kind of like a crack or a pull in the paint, as well as just like a little bit of a ridge that's left in the aluminum. So don't worry about that. Now the kit that I picked up here actually came off of eBay. You can find the same kit on vintagecb750.com, but I'll link where I got it below. This seems like a solid kit. It came with the end cap here, of course the elbow. It already has Teflon on it, of course has our O-ring. You can get this gauge in a multitude of different colors and styles, so I went with a kind of chrome bezel with a black face to kind of match all the other black accents on the bike. So this is going to be a nice easy install. We're going to start with this piece here with our O-ring, and then from there we're going to install our little elbow, and then that will allow us to kind of clock it where we need to go, and then we'll do the gauge. Alright, to start we're going to put this piece on. We have to get our O-ring on here, so lubricate this thing. Alright, we got that tight. Next, we have our little elbow here. And they were nice enough to provide it with Teflon already on it. Makes the job easy. This is probably going to be the hardest part of the job, is clocking this thing just the right way. Getting it clocked, but having it at the right tension. Feels pretty close. Tempted to try that, but I feel like we might be able to get another revolution out of here. Right there. That's all I'm comfortable with. And now the gauge, again, already has Teflon. Actually, real quick, I'm going to make sure I know what size this is. Perfect. Not gonna lie, a little bit nervous on those last couple rotations, but this thing is set up exactly where it needs to be, and I know it's tight enough. So let's throw some oil in this thing, fire it up, and see where we're at. Yes, Rotella. No, I don't care what oil you run. Run whatever you want. Alright, we're done with the install. I rode this thing a little bit, got it up to temperature, not like super hot, but it dropped down to maybe like 50 psi at idle, bouncing around between maybe 45 and 50, somewhere in there. So super happy with this thing. And in case you guys don't remember, this thing I actually got out of a barn. The engine was locked up, I unseized it. So it was really just an ongoing experiment to see kind of what the condition of the engine is. So if you guys haven't seen already, I've got previous videos on doing a health check on this thing after about 100 miles, where I did a compression check and then also did another bore scope inspection inside the cylinders. So this was just a good experiment with cutting open the oil filter and just continuing to investigate the bike and determine how much life it has left in it. And by my assessment, it's got a ton. So it's got 22,000 miles on it, and I hope to put 22,000 more on it. So yeah, overall, I love this bike. I ride it every day that I can, and now going into winter, depression is going to set in. So anyway, let me know if you guys have any questions about the gauge install overall. Super easy, or any other questions you have on the bike. I'll be happy to answer them. So check some other videos out on the channel. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, I'd really appreciate it. So anyway, I'm going to sign it off here. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Hope to see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.